welcome to the Empower Hour, everyone. This is our weekly broadcast we do every single Sunday, coming straight into your homes, giving you tips on how to move forward as we move on from the indoctrination of the Jehovah Witness religion. And today we're going to have a great broadcast because we're going to be talking about 12 actual tips that will help you to move forward, actual things that are actionable that you can put into play in your life. So if you don't already have a paper and a pencil or a paper and a pen, go ahead and get that so you can take some copious notes today because I will be dropping some golden nuggets for you today. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and share this with all your friends because we have a whole lot of people looking for tips so they can move their lives forward. I often say it's leaving the witnesses just kind of like going to a Europe. If you live in America, you go to Europe, you can't plug your electronics into the wall because it's different. You've got to get an adapter. In the same way, we have to learn how to adapt to fit in with the rest of the world. And that's what we do here on Sundays is give you tips so you can shed that old skin. It's like a rattlesnake, shedding the skin of what was and embracing the new, going from being a caterpillar to a butterfly. 12 tips to move forward. Let's get started. Y'all got your pens, your paper ready to take notes? Here we go. Tip number one, introduce meditation and mindfulness into your life. Witnesses tried to tell you that don't meditate. That leaves room for the devil to get in your mind. How ridiculous is that? How many people do you know walking around demon possessed because they meditated? That'd be a whole lot of people walking around out of their mind because they meditate. Because I know a whole lot of people that meditate. No, foolishness. They told you things like that to keep you separated from yourself. They liked to keep you busy so you are separated from yourself because if you spend too much time with yourself, truth will emerge, answers will emerge, questions will emerge. Why do you think so many people woke up during COVID? Because they weren't as busy, because they had time to pause and think. Massive amounts of people woke up during COVID. So learn to do this on purpose. Meditate, just being still with yourself. A lot of people have a hard time with this because the mind is so busy today. And they'll ask, how do I meditate? I just can't. I get a couple minutes in, my mind goes busy. Well, it's something you get better at. Just being still, just focusing on one thing, sometimes nothing, maybe focusing on your breath. Maybe you play a kind of music that allows you to just drop into the music. Like you can Google something like, or YouTube something like ocean meditation, where it's just the sound of the ocean, where you're just tapped in, where you just have that scenery, where you just drop in, where there's nothing else but your vision of the ocean and the sound of the ocean. And suddenly everything will start to dissipate. That's one way. There's guided meditations where people are actually speaking you through it, but meditate and drop in with yourself because there's so much happening within yourself that you get disconnected from. Being a witness and all the things that you needed to do being a witness. As soon as you wake up, you're supposed to jump into that activity and do your day's text and all the witness activity. They were sucking up your whole day. When I was a kid, um, growing up, it was Monday night we had Watchtower Prep. Tuesday we had book study. Wednesday I had to go on service after school. Thursday we had service meeting. Friday was my one free day. Saturday morning out in service again. Sunday at the meeting again. Your whole life is consumed with these things. You don't have time to think. You don't have time to get to know yourself. Mindfulness, just being present, just understanding there's nothing real but this present moment. Just drop into the moment. Let the worries go. Let the anxiety go. Drop into this present moment and be present with yourself. Number two, have a gratitude practice. Every day, be grateful. When we're going through things, that could be the most selfish time of your life. I know when I was going through things, when my life was upside down, the toughest times of my life was also the most self centered I've been because it was all about me. It was all about my story. I was not grateful for very much. And I've told this story before where I was having a little pity party because I'd lost all my friends and the typical things that ex witnesses go through. And I was living in Honolulu at the time in a high rise. And I went to get breakfast and I stepped around this homeless person who was sleeping on the street and just having a pity party. Woe is me. And I came back and went up to my apartment. I lived on the 34th floor. I could see the ocean from my bedroom. And I thought to myself, how self centered. I just stepped around a homeless man to go up 34 floors, to sit on my bed and look at the ocean. I live in Hawaii at the time. I'm looking at the ocean from my bedroom. I'm having a pity party when that man is laying on the street with nothing to eat. Yeah, I had some problems, but did I have more problems than I had blessings? No, I was healthy. My kids were healthy. I lived in Hawaii. Most people would love to live where I lived. And it was all about me. And I noticed right there that I had no gratitude. I recognized that something could happen in my life that would make all the problems that I thought I had mean nothing. You could get a phone call that changes your life, and suddenly all the things you complained about are suddenly not problems anymore. And I went downstairs and I woke that homeless man up and I bought him breakfast. Gratitude. I started being grateful for my life. I started writing 3 to 5 things every morning that I was grateful for. So my mind could start to focus on my blessings and not my challenges. You see, you get more in life, you get more of what you focus on. If you focus on your problems, your mind will identify more problems. That's how your mind works. If you focus on your blessings, your mind will identify more blessings. Next, I would say be in service to others. Where can you add value to others? So what I did when I bought that homeless man breakfast is two things, right? I was recognizing where I was blessed and I was doing my gratitude every day, my gratitude practice, but I was also being in service to people. So every morning from that morning on, I would get a homeless person breakfast or coffee, one of the two. And there was one old lady, all she wanted was $2. Every day she go, I want $2, $2. So I give her $2. Right? But be in service to others. Where can you add value to the lives of others? Because when you add value to others, you also gain. It's a reciprocity. You feel good. Me doing this on Sunday makes me feel good. I'm giving of myself to others. So it also blesses me. So where can you be in service to others? Look at your life. Where can you contribute? Can you volunteer at your children's school? Can you be a part of, some of the classroom activities? I know I used to volunteer at my son's school. I would help the PE teacher with PE. I coached youth basketball for a long time. I've worked with the Boys and Girls Club. I speak at schools a lot. Where can you be in service to other people? It will take the focus off of your issues. It will give your life a certain kind of meaning and purpose. But it's not only going to serve the person you're serving, it's going to serve you. You'll feel a sense of validation from others. With witnesses, that wasn't so. You did not serve others who weren't in your circle. You had an agenda. When you went preaching, it was an agenda. You didn't look for ways to serve other people because you separated yourself from the rest of the world. That's no way to be. How can you add value? What random acts of kindness can you do? I remember once being in this little a store that sold trinkets and little bracelets and things like that. And this older woman, she had a handful of of knickknacks that she wanted, and nothing in that store is expensive. And I said, go ahead and take that to the counter. I got it. Just to do something for somebody. This older woman. It's not like buying somebody that's young and attractive stuff. No, this older woman. And she just started to cry. Yeah, it might have cost me 16, $18 or something like that, but she just started to cry because of the act of kindness. It really wasn't about the 16 or $18 or $20 or whatever it was. It was because someone saw her, made her day. She probably talked about that for years. And we all have that power to be in service to others, random acts of kindness, giving our time. Could we volunteer at a soup kitchen? Could we volunteer to help children? Could we volunteer at places that deal with domestic violence and things like that? I mean, there's so many ways for us to add value to others. Next, I would say make sure you connect with nature. It's another way to be mindful, right? Is connecting with nature every day, purposely connecting with nature. A lot of times we wait to go on a vacation to do things that is right around us. Connect with nature. That's one way of connecting with what's bigger than you, whatever you want to call that. God, source, the universe. When you connect in nature, there's just the oneness. It's another way of being mindful. It's another way of even meditating, right? When you're walking and you're hearing the birds chirp and you're hearing the trees rustle and you're watching the sun come up or you're watching the sun go down, you will look at things differently. You're gifting yourself that gift. And when you gift yourself things like this, you worry about your issues far less. You end up saying, you know what, this is a wonderful world. When you're a witness, you're taught that this world is worse than it's ever been. Oh my God, Jehovah needs to step in and end this. Life is whatever you focus on. If you want to think it's horrible, it is. You'll find every bit of evidence that you're correct. If you want to believe it's wonderful, you're right. You'll also find every bit of evidence that you're correct. But what world do you want to live in? Do you want to get up and watch the news and hear people argue about politics and watch the things on TV that try to appeal to the lowest part of you? People who program television understand that your mind is naturally drawn to the negative. It's because we have a natural fight or flight response in us. That is always looking for danger. That was put in us because back in the day we had to look for danger. There were animals coming at us and all kinds of stuff. We're not dealing with that anymore, but we still are drawn to train wrecks. Have you ever been in traffic and you're stuck on the freeway and you think there's a major accident, then you get up to the accident and it's on the other side of the road and it's jacking up your side of the freeway because people are drawn to negative. So you have to intentionally be positive. And you can do that by really connecting with nature, going to a park, taking a walk. Right? You're gonna be knocking out a few. You're gonna be knocking out a few things with one stone. You're going to be connecting with nature. You're going to be taking care of the mindfulness that we spoke of earlier and the part of the meditation we spoke of earlier because you're just connecting with self. Remember, so many of your answers are within yourself, so you have to take the time to connect with yourself, or else you'll always be distracted and drawn to things outside of you. Next, I would say make sure that you take some digital breaks. It's wonderful that we have this technology. We're using it now, but sometimes take a break. We don't want to always be watching all the XJW videos for eternity. There might be a time that we need to do that when we first leave, but we don't want to just be filling our mind with things. This thing here can really be a distraction. I remember being outside of a college and I counted 10 people, and every one of those 10 people either had a phone in their hand or something in their ears. So they're not present. Sometimes take breaks. Just going, I'm turning that off. I'm going to be with me. Most of these things I'm talking about has to do with you tuning in to yourself and not being afraid of yourself. Tune into yourself so you begin to like yourself. You begin to know yourself. You begin to know what resonates with you. Next, I would say learn to set intentions so that your life is on purpose. I've said this many times before, we live with intention or we live in reaction. When we live in reaction, we feel no control. When we live with intention, we are designing our lives. We're not responding to life, we're creating our life. What do you want? It's really hard to be happy when life's just murky and you don't know what you want and you don't know where you're going. You don't know what you're working on. You don't want to live a life where you're just existing. You see, when you come out of a religion like the Witnesses, your template for life is removed and it can make you feel really lost because your template involved you doing this to get to the new order. Right? So it made you feel like you had a sense of purpose, even though it's all baloney, still made you feel like you had a sense of purpose. Remember this, reality is simply what you accept as the truth. So if you believe in the Wizard of Oz and you're skipping along to go see the Wizard of Oz and he's going to make your life better, then you're going to live within the context of that reality. It's going to feel real to you. It's going to be real to you. But once you wake up, now you got to replace that. What are you moving toward? Now you get to move toward what you visualize for yourself. And if you're busy just responding to life, or you're busy just looking up things that you know will upset you. Again, we can get stuck in this whole XJW world and never have a clear vision or path for our lives. And we never get to move forward. So we get frustrated. We get frustrated with our lives. You got to move with intention. You have to know that things are possible for you. You weren't taught that, but it's true. What do you want? Be honest about where you are and get clear about where you want to go. I'm going to say that again. Honest about where you are and clear about where you want to go. And that's your natural mental GPS system that was begin to kick on. Because if you know where you are and you know where you want to go, then you keep recalibrating yourself every time you get off track, just like your GPS, rerouting, because you know where you want to go. And for most people, where they get stuck is they start with they don't know where they want to go. No, they don't know where they are, but they don't know where they are. Because they don't know where they are, trying to figure out where you want to go becomes impossible. Because GPS needs to pick up where you are first, and then we can have a vision for where we're going. So figure out who and where you are. Who are you without this religion? That's the first step. Then you could start having a vision and start living your life with intention. Everything with intention. Your day with intention. What do I want? What do I want to accomplish? Every day, be intentional. So life's not random. Don't respond to life, create life. Create life for your physical self. Create life for your mental self. Create life for your spiritual self on purpose. When you live on purpose, life gains meaning. So learn to live with intention. Next, take care of your physical self, your physical body. This is all we've got. It's tough to be winning at all times in all aspects of life. I say this many times, life is like a Rubik's Cube. Sometimes we got some parts right and other parts are still messed up. The goal is to get all six sides right. And when you get all six sides right, trust me, life will mess it up. You'll get up in the morning, oh God, who messed with my cube? Right? But you get real proficient at putting it back together again. There are people that no matter what you do to that Rubik's Cube, they put it back together again in a minute because they've got proficient at that. So in life, that's the goal. We're trying to get all six sides right. So some parts might be messed up right now. Maybe you're still trying to recover from the religion. But taking care of our physical self is something that's always in our control. So we get a win on the part that's within our control. It's like if I was just really proficient at putting this side together, well, that's in my control. Take care of your physical self, because once you don't have your physical health, that becomes the only problem you have, because all you have is this physical body. So take care of your physical self. You'll find yourself feeling better. If you're feeling depressed and you're feeling down, just getting out, exercising, taking care of your physical body temple will change a lot for you. It's something within your control, so control it. Some things are not within our control at times. We might get some devastating news, or we might have a loss, or we got to get accustomed to some of the changes that have happened in our life. But this is within our control. Give yourself as many wins as you can on things that are within your control. And then the things without that are outside your control, they'll right themselves in time. But you don't want more problems that you shouldn't be dealing with just because you haven't addressed it. Right. So remember your physical self. That should be your most prized possession, because it's really all you have. So if we're living without intention and we just love to get those hot Krispy Kremes in the morning, then we're going to look like we love to get those hot Krispy Kremes in the morning. And we're going to feel like we love to get those hot Krispy Kremes in the morning. Take care of yourself. Take care of your physical self. Next, I would say learn to forgive those that hurt you. And that's big for this community. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about the other person. See, a lot of times we get stuck in a stalemate because two people have pride. We all face hurt because most of us are being rejected by somebody we love. Understand that they are under mind control. Understand that we were once them. Forgive them not for you. I mean, not for them. Forgive them for you. You don't even have to tell somebody you forgave them to forgive them. You just got to forgive it in your head. Let it go. So it stops having that weight on you. It stops triggering you. You just can forgive people in your head. It's not saying you're gonna have the relationship you once had with them. You won't, but you can still forgive them because they're on their own journey. Some people are so afraid and don't have the courage that all of us have to walk away from something. So they're holding on to it like a buoy in the ocean. They're just holding on to this thing because they can't navigate life on their own. You can. Forgive those that hurt you. It frees you. It doesn't let them off the hook, but it frees you. They're on a journey of their own and they see life in a twisted way. And when you know that, you can let it go. Remember to set boundaries in your life. This is another one. When you're dealing with people, especially people from your past, you set boundaries. They have boundaries. Why can't you have boundaries? They'll tell you what you can't talk about. Why can't you tell them what they can't talk about? They'll tell you when you're stepping over the line. Why don't you have lines? You see, witnesses love one-way streets. They're not into reciprocity. When they go and knock on doors, they're not trying to listen to what the householder says. They're trying to talk to the householder. They're never gonna do this thing where you ever been out in service where someone said, hey, here's some literature from my church. I'll take yours, you take mine. We'll get together in a week. If you took it, you threw it right in the trash because the witnesses aren't reciprocal. It's all a one-way street. So because it's like that, you must set boundaries. No, you don't just get to set boundaries on me. I'm gonna set boundaries on you too. I have boundaries with my family. They know not to say the truth around me. I've told them every single time they say the truth, don't say the truth around me. They have a hard time with it because it's just the way they talk. Even ex-witnesses have a hard time not saying it, but I would tell my family, don't say the truth around me because I don't tell you what I think is the truth. And if I'm going to deal with people, it's reciprocal. We play by the same rules. It goes back and forth. You don't get to apply things to me that I don't get to apply back. But boundaries in all areas of your life, relationships and friendships. What are your non-negotiable boundaries? For those of you who are perpetual people pleasers, this is what's going to help eradicate that is setting boundaries. When you set boundaries, you hurt people's feelings sometimes. But if you don't set boundaries, you're the one who always gets hurt. Set boundaries in your life. Next, I would say learn to deepen the relationships you have. With the witnesses, you had a whole community. You had a whole community that was wonderful, but they were mostly all surface relationships. Well, you're not gonna replace that kind of community. I'm not even saying it was a negative thing. It was the best thing about being a witness is having that community. But understand that most of your relationships were shallow. They were all based on the religion. But now with the relationships you have, when you do connect with somebody, go deep. Deepen your relationships and your friendships. 3 or 4 really good friendships will make up for that whole community. So deepen your relationships with people. Really be real with them. Allow them to be real with you. Don't have judgment. Surround yourself with people without judgment who are there to support you. Deepen those relationships and make sure they're a lot deeper than they ever were when you were a Jehovah Witness. Next, I would say learn to embrace change. Life's never, ever constant, it's always changing. The only thing you can count on is change. Didn't seem like that. Again, when you're a witness, you expected to know all the same people your whole life and you expected to keep the same beliefs your whole life. So it's going against nature, it's going against the way um, the world works because everything changes, nothing stays the same. Embrace change. So for a lot of you, you're going through a major change right now. The change of the world that you knew, the change of your friendships, the change of beliefs. Embrace change. When you embrace change, it's easier to let yesterday go. When you fight change, life's always going to be a struggle. You see some people on social media who are always talking about the past, always talking about, oh, it's so sad that that store closed or this closed or the way it used to be is so much better than it is now. It's always been changing. The old days that we know as the old days was the new days to somebody else. They were complaining just like we might be today. But embrace change because we're all going through it. It's okay. Things change. People change. You outgrow people. If you're a person who is about personal development and personal growth and growing and expanding, you're going to outgrow people in your life. Why is it that witnesses could hang out with the same people for 50 years? Because nobody's growing. That's why. Everybody's staying the same. That's why. But when you're a growing person, you're going to outgrow people, and it's okay. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with the person. It simply means you've outgrown that relationship. Embrace change. It's okay. You don't have to fight change all the time. Next, I would say trust the journey. Life's not easy. Life's not supposed to be easy. Life on planet Earth is a challenging experience. Trust the journey. Understand that the dots connect looking backwards. Many times when you're in the middle of something, it won't make any sense to you. You'll feel like this is just like hell. But later on, the dots connect and it makes sense. Sometimes you could have heartbreak. You could be in a relationship and feel like there's heartbreak. Oh my God, I'm going to live through this. He left me. She left me. And years later, you get in the most amazing relationship that is beyond anything that you could have ever dreamt of. Now you're not so sad about what ended because the dots connected looking backwards. This needed to end for this to happen. And there's so many things in my life that remind me that some of the things that I wanted that didn't happen was great. I was watching an interview with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and he was talking about his failed football career and how he wanted it so bad as all he wanted in life was to play football. And when he finally quit, feeling defeated, This whole new world opened up for him. So he wouldn't be the superstar he is today if the football career worked out. So understand that this is a journey. Don't fight the journey. A lot of you are in the transition right now from what was and what you knew. Trust the journey. Trust that you're exactly where you should be, even if it is a dark time. That's life. If we think we're going to exist on this planet without devastation, we're fooling ourselves. We all will face challenging times and devastation. We all will lose people that we love or go through things that really challenge us, take us to the brink. But remember, the person you are on the other side of the challenge is a greater version of yourself. If you don't break, if you get through the tunnel, this is the challenge. Here you start, here's the challenge. If you get to this side, a greater version of you exists. You can bend, but don't break. Trust that the journey is going to work out for you, that you're going to be a more powerful version of yourself if you get through it. But you got to keep focusing forward. You got to focus. You got to be looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. And if we're not looking for it, if we keep looking backwards, we're never going to see the light. And a lot of times that's what depression is. A lot of times depression comes from not being able to see the light at the end of the tunnel because we're not looking for it. We get stuck in that pity party. So give yourself as many wins as you can give yourself every day. Live an intentional life. So I'm going to go over these again. Meditate and be mindful. Live a life that is a life of gratitude. Have a gratitude practice. Be in service to others. Connect with nature on a regular basis. Take digital breaks where you can just be in the moment and present. Learn to live an intentional life. Set intentions. Take care of your body. Exercise. Take care of this body temple. Forgive those who hurt you. Learn to set boundaries in life. Deepen the relationships you have. Go deep with them. Embrace change. Life is always changing. Whether we like it or not, life is never stagnant. It's growing or dying. So you keep growing, and you do that through intention. And last, trust the journey that you are on. Trust that it'll all work out, that things are as they should be. Okay. So let's bring our panel up. Dean, Janelle, Gary, and Jack. All right, who wants to get started? Go ahead, Gary.
Back to me, I guess. Yeah, on the topic of forgiveness, I had an interesting experience just yesterday, not with a Jehovah's Witness, but it's the same principle. I'm visiting a town that I used to work in, used to live in, and actually the facility I used to work in, because it's an event that's taking place at a restaurant and a motel, and that's where I work. So a couple of years ago, when I worked here, I worked with somebody that was very abusive, a coworker, not a boss or anything, but very abusive. And when it happened, I didn't know what to do because it was almost always in front of customers, and I don't want to badmouth her like she's badmouthing me. I don't want to play her game, so I never knew what to do about it. I tried talking to her privately, offline. I tried talking to my boss. It never went anywhere. So I just, whatever. And I kind of forgot about it because it's not an important person in my life. It's not like it was trauma. But I never actually forgave her because why? I didn't feel as there was a need to because I'm not walking around in resentment every day. Well, anyway, I really didn't think she was going to be at this event. I didn't think there was any reason for it, but lo and behold, there she was. There's about 100 people there, so or I don't know, something like that. So I don't know if I'm going to run into her. So I'm thinking like, okay, if I happen to run past her, I could just ignore her. And, if she makes an issue about it, I'd just say, well, honestly, you're just not my favorite person. It's just the way it is. Or I could lay her out, tell her what a creep she is, probably never going to do that. Those are the only two options I could think of. But forgiveness wasn't even on my mind. But so we didn't really cross paths for hours, until it finally happened. And then I instead of giving her the silent treatment, which I thought I might do, I just naturally, I just don't hold on to resentment and hatred and anger very long. It just doesn't work. So I just said, "How you doing?" And she said, "How you doing?" And before you know it, we talked for like, oh my god, like 5 or 10 minutes nonstop. And even after it seemed like it's time, this is a pretty natural break. Why don't you just walk away and say, "Hey, I have to go to the bathroom," even if you don't have to. I don't know. I just kept talking to her. I don't know that I didn't actually like say, "Hey, I forgive you," but to me that it doesn't matter. She's going to be who she is. She was very cordial. She said, "It's nice to see you again," even though I know that was disingenuous. I know this person. She's absolutely lying when she says something like that. But I don't care. Well, it doesn't mean anything. We had a nice conversation, and then that was it. And then several times during the evening, we passed each other, and she'd smile or something like that. It just so at this point, I can say, like, having had that experience, now I've actually decided, yeah, I do forgive her, because I don't know I have no idea what she's going through that makes her such a nasty person at times, and so this and that at other times. Um, it doesn't matter. She's not going to change. I'm not going to change her. So I accept her for what she is. It so happens that I don't have to, after this weekend, I'm going to be gone. I'm not going to see her again. But anyway, I think that forgiveness is really really freeing, because I mean it's not going to matter to her if I walk around hating her for the rest of my life. It's not going to mean anything to her. It's going to mean something to me. It's going to ruin my focus. It's going to make it hard to make decisions. Might make it hard to be happy. So yeah, forgiveness is not about uh, saying that the behavior was okay. It's never about that. It's just about letting go of resentment and deciding that I'm not going to be in the prison that not forgiving somebody creates.
It's so freeing to just let things go, things that you can't change. I told a story many times to the group about when I was a witness, and I had a friend that who worked for me for 13 years, who became my competitor. He's a witness, and basically stole about $600,000 or $700,000 a year of work. He was my general manager, and I was so resentful at him for so many years. And then when I changed my perspective and saw it as, I needed to not be there anymore to do this work. Like if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be still cleaning air conditioning ducts, the things we did. I don't want to do that. It's not my purpose, right? So I look back now, and it's a blessing in disguise that happened. So I text him about maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. This happened years ago, saying, my brother, it's all good, all forgiven, it's all forgiven, because that's not what I want to be doing anyway. And I'm glad that business still feeds families because it came out of his head, and I just let it go, right? And I don't want to taint all the good memories. We'll never be friends again, but that's the only negative thing that ever happens since we're 10 years old, right? So why am I going to let how that ended, and everything in my life that was at that point in time in my life is gone. But I'm not going to let that taint all of it. And by forgiving, all those good memories came back. Right now, I enjoy the thought of him instead of holding on to that. So great share, Gary. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Go ahead, Dean.
Yeah, just a bit of context. You said about taking quiet time. I'm still off tomorrow. I've taken a long weekend for myself. And one of the reasons I did that was literally on Friday would have been 40 years that I came out of detention. So in South Africa, we had conscription back in the day, or the good old days, as some people would have said. And I just took that quiet time. And I think one of the things is it was a time of reflection. I've just been listening to lots of podcasts. There's lots of certain process I've been following, and I will still post about it as well. But I think one of the things, and I just jotted down a note while you were speaking, is that in those dark times, that's when the small little light stands out clearly. And I think sometimes we forget that it's very easy to fill your life with a lot of clutter, and a lot of stuff and a lot of things and a lot of enjoyment and everything else. And you can fill your life up so much that the little messages will never get through to you. And if I look back, the times when I've thought it was the darkest have been the most profound for change in terms of moving forward. And I like what you said, because that quiet time, very often I get up in the morning, and we've chatted about it before, you're putting music on, you're putting a podcast on. I can't. That's my quiet time. I cannot rush into the day. I just need that space until I'm ready to let the world approach me, and also be very careful about what I allow into that space. And I think one of the things that I was working on this weekend, just in terms of journaling and working through various things, was that aspect of forgiveness. Because if I think back 20 years, I can think of people that made my life a misery, or I allowed them to make my life a misery. And I kind of don't even remember those people, because life has moved on. They're in other places. And then also, always love it. There's a saying, I don't even know who said it, you're not a tree, you can move. Um, and, and as if you're in a situation where things aren't perfect, well, figure out how to change it. I mean, God, you can move towns, you can move jobs, you can move. There's a lot of things you can move. You don't have to just accept the crap that's coming your way. You can change things.
Yeah. You could change things, and change things would change on their own. So it's better to be ahead of the natural change that's coming. Things are going to change on their own. I mean, nothing's stagnant in life, but better to be in control of it than to just be subject
Yeah.
to it, right? So that you got some control over it. Thank you. Great share. Love it. Next,
I have a couple of.
go ahead, Janelle.
Yes, I appreciate about boundaries. That is totally obliterated, in the organization. They don't respect boundaries. So that's something that has to, you have to allow yourself to, get used to. And now I've gotten better on it. I know for me is, when a person cross your boundaries, that means they're kind of conflicting your values. And it's just good to define your values. Like, what is it about the core of your boundaries that you appreciate so much? I know for me, it's respect and dignity. You know, do not disrespect, do not undignify, me or other people. I don't like that. So, I've gotten more firm, regarding boundaries, and witnesses tend to not really give respect and dignity, to others, which is why we're all here. And then I appreciate the point about what you said about trusting the journey, about being flexible, but it doesn't mean, like sometimes when a person says being flexible, I don't know if it's just me, but sometimes a person may subconsciously, you may think, oh, that means I'm not being grounded, or you allowing yourselves to be kind of like pushed over like the wind or what have you. But you can still be flexible and still be grounded. And as I'm saying that, there was a picture that I took as I went walking, and this is after the recent hurricane that we had. I don't know if you can see it. Hold on. You can see a tree that's being curved. It's like a pine tree. So, trees that are more bendable, like your palm trees, your pine trees, they have a little bit more flexibility. So they tend not to break during a hurricane. But trees like your oak trees, they tend to break and cause damage. But although as far bendable it is, it's still grounded. So it doesn't mean that you're not going to be grounded if you're flexible.
Mm, great share. Great share. Yeah, embrace change. It's inevitable, so you may as well roll with it and flow with it. Let's talk about deepening relationships. Who wants to speak on that?
I can speak on that.
Go ahead, Janelle.
Yeah, so this is something that I did before my respect was lost for the organization, because, I came to a hard realization as far as why I had a hard time maintaining friendships in the organization. I had some ideas, But I just thought, I've been in this organization for some decades, and I felt like it was unnecessarily difficult, whether it's my end or the other person's end. Bottom line is difficult. But I always have those individuals that I resonate with. And, sometimes they were outside of the organization. So what I did was I started opening up my heart, to those who I resonate with. And one was a colleague that I worked with, and he and I connected well. He was married for like 9 years, or what have you, and we was able to just really get each other right. So because of that, I was able to have a default benefit. I remember when I first met him, I was like, "Oh, his wife is cool people. I gotta meet her," you know. And but I was always hesitant to be close friends with some of the females because they were married. They emphasize so much about this stuff with whatever. We all know about it. So then, so I met his wife. We clicked, of course, and then later they had their firstborn son, and they adopted me to be the aunt, of their son. So I was able to gain a nephew, you know. But I do have a niece, on the in-law side, but I rarely see her. They say I'm family, but I try to reach out to see her. It's been several years, but with the ones that I connected with from work, I can just give them a call like, "Hey, it's time for me to see my nephew." All right, come on over.
Hmm.
Not a problem, you know.
Now you can have rich relationships,
Yes,
people that are willing to go on the ride, the ups and downs,
yeah,
witnesses off on the down. Like when you're struggling with something, or maybe you make some steps in life, those friends drop off. Get to go deep uh, and grow. Right? You don't have to agree on anything, but grow. They're inviting you into your life and a child's life, and this could be a lifetime bond that's so much richer and deeper than what you lost. Like I said, you're not going to replace that community very easily, but you
mhm,
can have much deeper and richer relationships. Go ahead.
Yeah, just about friendships. I think one of the things I was thinking about recently, and I was chatting to my therapist, and we were talking about friendships, and I just said I'm feeling so alone and lonely. And then she said, "Well, let's go through." And I think I was still sitting with the mistaken belief that I needed to have these piles and piles of friends around me, because you kind of stuck in your upbringing where you had all these friends, and yet that's it. This is what you're going to have. You're going to have those. You're going to have that handful of friends that are close to you. And I suddenly had that realization, and I literally that week just went out and I literally phoned all those people that I'm really, really close to. We don't see each other a lot, but I thought, you know what, the only reason I'm feeling lonely is I'm not making contact with them. And what's that story, very cheesy, to be a friend, you got to have a friend, you got to be a friend. And and literally everybody that I phoned that I know that's close to me, not necessarily geographically, but literally we probably spent an hour and a half on the phone, like just out of the blue phone call. Not It's not like Jesus, it was just like phone and just start chatting, and then kind of like, look, geez, like a whole hour's gone, and we spoke about nothing really consequential, but it was a good catch up. And after, you kind of think to yourself, that's all the friendships are really about. um, and I think sometimes, and I think one of the things that I normally fight with is the fact of trying to have an agenda, whereas friendship, there's no agenda. You're just hanging out with somebody.
Right, right. Love it. Love it. Awesome. Jack, I wanted to ask you something. I wanted to ask a share from you in particular in the area of being in service to others, because you've done so much in your community, helping people, and food drives, or different things that you've done. Could you speak on that?
Uh, okay, so the helping others. See, I when I was a witness, I was the one that would usually organize all the picnics and all the parties for the congregation and get-togethers. So when I left, it kind of that part of my life was really missing, because I'm like, well, Where's the community? Can't really do that with neighbors. It was very difficult. I also had this strong desire helping people, and without the congregation, I didn't really know how. So I started helping with delivering food with a charity work. And even the first time, it was kind of weird. It kind of felt odd because I've never done anything like this before. So the first time you're going, you kind of, you walk in, you look at all these people, and there's a priest over there, helping out, and there's people from the church, and the whole place where we were packing the food was attached to a church, so you kind of feel awkward, right? But then you very quickly realize that these people are extraordinary people. They're truly extraordinary people. First of all, none of them care about what you believe in. None of them care what religion you're in. So one can be an atheist and the other one can be a priest, and they're working together to help others, to help strangers, people that they don't know, with zero agenda. There is no such thing as, oh, we're helping you because we want you to join our church. None of that. It's just pure love for your fellow neighbors without expecting anything back in return. Something like that I have never experienced among JWs. Because among JWs, there are some obviously good people, and they're doing some good things. Even when we were in service, I remember we saw people like shoveling snow, and we helped them out with that, or raking leaves, and we helped them out with that. But it was always somewhere at the back of your mind, maybe that would be a good witness to them. And when you don't have that, when you just give purely out of love, and you don't want anything in return, you don't expect these people to do anything back. It's the purest way of giving. I can't express this to anybody until they actually experience it. So I always tell people, it's not just to give money to charity. Spend a little bit of time, join, and spend one Saturday. Just meet these people who actually have these values and these kind of hearts, because they're the best there is. Because they're giving without wanting anything in return. It's the purest way of giving. And once you have that, once you see this, I tell you what, the first time I went, we're going with the groceries, and we did it on Saturday morning. Guess who you're gonna see going door to door on Saturday morning? So we see them going door to door, knocking, and nobody's opening. Then we go to the same doors, and everybody's opening. And the reaction is not, oh, I'm not interested. Like, oh my God, like, what is this? I can't even describe it in words. Right? Like, people
Yeah.
were crying, they were giving us hugs. They couldn't believe it, right? Like who would do this, right? And the joy that you get from giving, that I never had that as a witness. 30 plus years as a witness, I can't even compare it. So I always tell people, give a little bit of your time. Every time you give, don't expect anything in return. The moment people feel that you're expecting something, it's the moment it's no longer pure. And the whatever it is that you give kind of diminishes the gift. So don't expect anything. Just give out of your pure heart, and you'll receive a lot more, in your heart, fulfillment than anything else.
So remember this: your glass only holds so much water, and you have to pour out water to put new water in. So if your glass is filled with water that feels contaminated because you have this angst and resentment and all this energy from the witnesses, or your experience of what you're experiencing and all that stuff, to add to that glass, what Jeff is speaking of, you gotta pour some water out to get in. And if you keep doing that, the contaminated will at some point be gone. So remember that. Always be adding to the glass of things that you want in your life. And that is living tension. I ask you, what feeling you get back when you give to that extent? I mean, we're giving, but what comes back? Is a reciprocity there?
Oh, if you're giving and you want something back in return, you're gonna get minimum. Somebody will say thank you, whatever. But when you're giving with a pure heart and you don't want anything in return, you get 100 times more. Like you can't even express it in words. You have to experience it, because you get that fulfillment. You get that the joy, that feeling that, oh, you've made a difference. You actually change people. Seriously, you actually change people on spiritual level, because they a new belief is formed. I believe that strangers care. When people, when they're desperate, when they're like, oh, nobody cares about me, they get to this survival mode where they're very depressed and they think nobody cares. And then somebody shows up who cares, and they don't want anything back. It changes them. And you actually can see that change. It's like, what? Well, I, I thought there's no people like that. And we've seen many who were desperate, who were in really the bottom of the bottoms, and now they're contributing. Now they're joining the same thing, and they're like, I want to give back because I met these people. And I'm like, whoa, they helped me through the hardest part. Now I want to give back. And you see that change. And nobody asked them to change. Nobody asked them to join. Nobody asked them to do anything, but they do it out of their own heart. And that is extraordinary. That is something you kind of put a price on it.
Love it. Love it. So I'm going to wrap this up into two things for everyone to remember. Do the things that make you your own best friend to you, right? The meditation, the taking care of your physical self, the gratitude, all the things we spoke of makes you enjoy you, connects with you, raises the self-love, the self-care. This is going to help you in your journey. And then use yourself to add value to the lives of others. If you do those two things, you will feel entirely different about your life. Your entire perspective will change. You'll no longer feel like a victim, and you will know that you matter. So, with that, we're going to end it. My friends, thank you for joining us. If you need help at all moving forward, contact myself or someone like Jack, and let's keep your life moving forward, my friends. It's all about moving forward. Happy Sunday Fun Day. Have a good time with your day. See you next week.